The house stood at the end of a long, overgrown driveway. The path, once well-trodden and welcoming, was now a tangled mess of weeds and wildflowers. It seemed as though nature had reclaimed what was once hers, wrapping the driveway in a green embrace. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves, a testament to the years of neglect. The house itself, barely visible through the dense foliage, loomed like a forgotten sentinel guarding the secrets of Darlene's Creek. Twisted branches like skeletal fingers reached out towards the fading paint. The trees, ancient and gnarled, seemed to whisper among themselves, their leaves rustling in the gentle breeze. Each branch told a story of time and endurance, of seasons changing and years passing. The bark, rough and weathered, bore the scars of countless storms. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the shadows lengthened, casting an eerie glow on the house. It was as if the trees were trying to protect the house or perhaps keep it prisoner. The windows, like vacant eyes, stared back at her. They were dark and empty, reflecting nothing but the void within. Each pane of glass, cracked and dirty, seemed to hold a fragment of the past, memories of laughter, of tears, of life once lived within those walls. Now they were just hollow openings devoid of warmth and light. The wind howled through the broken glass, creating a mournful symphony that echoed through the empty rooms. It was a sound that spoke of loneliness and abandonment. Their emptiness sent a shiver down her spine. It was as if the house itself was watching her, judging her for intruding on its solitude. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the occasional creak of the old wood settling. She could almost feel the weight of the years pressing down on her, the history of the house enveloping her like a shroud. It was a place that had seen much and forgotten nothing, a place where time stood still, and the past was ever present. The porch sagged, weary from years of neglect and the weight of forgotten seasons. The paint, once vibrant and fresh, was now peeling and faded. The steps, broken and uneven, were a testament to the passage of time. Each creak and groan of the wood seemed to tell a story of days gone by. The porch was a place where people once gathered, where children played and families shared moments of joy. Now, it was just a relic of the past, a reminder of what once was and what could never be again. Darlene's Creek, a ribbon of black water, wound its way behind the house, reflecting the overcast sky. The water, dark and mysterious, seemed to hold secrets of its own. It flowed silently, its surface disturbed only by the occasional ripple. The creek was a lifeline, a source of sustenance and a witness to the passage of time. It had seen the house in its prime and now in its decline. The water whispered tales of love and loss, of dreams and despair. It was a constant, unchanging, and eternal. It had always been a place of shadows and secrets. The house, the trees, the creek, they all held stories that were never told, mysteries that were never solved. It was a place where the past and present coexisted, where time seemed to stand still. The shadows danced in the fading light, creating shapes and forms that played tricks on the mind. It was a place that drew you in, made you wonder, made you question, a place that held a piece of your soul, even if you didn't know it. The house on Darlene's Creek was more than just a house. It was a living, breathing entity, a keeper of memories and a guardian of secrets. Mara stopped at the edge of the property. She hadn't been here in years, not since she left for the city, hoping to escape the shadows of her past. The memories of this place were a mix of warmth and fear, a duality that had shaped her entire life. She took a deep breath, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves, a smell that was both familiar and unsettling. The air hung heavy, thick with the smell of damp earth and decay. It was as if the forest itself was holding its breath, waiting for her next move. The mist swirled around her feet, making the ground seem almost alive, as if it were trying to pull her back into the past she had tried so hard to leave behind. This place held her childhood, a tangled mix of sun-drenched days and terrifying nights. She remembered playing in the sunlit meadows, her laughter echoing through the trees. But she also remembered the nights, the shadows that seemed to come alive, the whispers that filled the air, and the fear that gripped her heart. It was a place of contrasts, of light and dark, of joy and terror. Now, after her mother's death, she was drawn back. The letter she had received was brief, but it had been enough to pull her back to this place. Her mother had always been a mystery, a woman of few words and many secrets. Mara had hoped to find answers, to understand the woman who had raised her. But now it seemed those answers were buried with her. The house loomed before her, a silent sentinel guarding forgotten memories. It stood as it always had, imposing and eerie, its dark windows like eyes watching her every move. The garden was overgrown, the once beautiful flowers now choked by weeds. It was a place that had been forgotten by time, much like the memories it held. Memories she had tried hard to forget. They came rushing back now, unbidden and unwanted. She remembered the arguments, the tears, the nights spent hiding under her bed. She remembered the love too, the rare moments of tenderness that had kept her going. But most of all, she remembered the fear, the constant gnawing fear that had been her constant companion. And now, standing here, she realized that she could never truly escape it. She stepped inside. The air was stale and cold, thick with dust. Sunbeams, filtering through cracks in the boarded-up windows, illuminated motes of dust, dancing in the silence. The furniture, draped in white sheets, resembled ghosts. Each room held whispers of the past, of laughter and arguments, of comfort and fear. Mara ran her hand along the dusty banister, remembering. The creek had always been a source of unease. It was as if the very air around it carried whispers of ancient secrets, secrets that were never meant to be uncovered. The dense fog that often settled over the water only added to its mystique, making it a place that both drew people in and repelled them at the same time. Its murky water, whispering secrets to the shore, had been both alluring and terrifying. The way the water moved, almost as if it had a mind of its own, created ripples that seemed to carry messages from another world. It was a place where reality and imagination blurred, where the line between the known and the unknown was constantly shifting. As a child, Mara had imagined things lurking beneath its surface, creatures that defied description. She would spend hours by the creek, her mind conjuring up images of fantastical beings that lived in the depths. These weren't just idle daydreams. They were vivid, almost tangible visions that left a lasting impression on her young mind. Their eyes gleaming in the moonlight. Those eyes, whether real or imagined, seemed to follow her every move, watching, waiting. The moonlight would cast eerie reflections on the water, creating an otherworldly glow that made the creek seem even more alive, more sentient. Now, looking out the window at its dark water, those childhood fears returned. The creek had a way of drawing out the deepest, most hidden fears from the recesses of her mind. It was as if the water itself had a memory, a consciousness that reached out to her, reminding her of the stories she had once believed. The creek seemed to pulsate with a life of its own. Each ripple, each subtle movement of the water felt like a heartbeat, a pulse that connected the creek to the world around it. It was a living entity, a presence that could not be ignored. The cold breath of the creek was a reminder that some mysteries are best left unsolved, that some places are meant to remain shrouded in darkness and intrigue. Nightfall brought a deepening chill. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows. Mara lay in her childhood bed, listening to the house creak and groan around her. Every rustle of leaves outside the window sounded like footsteps on the porch. Then she heard it. A whisper, soft and indistinct, coming from the hallway. Her blood ran cold. The whispers grew louder, accompanied by the sound of dragging footsteps. Mara lay frozen, her heart pounding in her chest. She imagined a figure standing in the doorway, its eyes glowing in the darkness. A shadow flickered in the corner of her eye. She dared not move. Driven by terror, Mara stumbled to the window. The moon painted the creek in an eerie silver light, and then she saw it, a figure rising slowly from the water. Its skin was slick and gray, its eyes burning with an unnatural light. It turned, and for a fleeting moment their eyes met. The scream died in Mara's throat. She fled the house, not daring to look back. The creature's image, burned into her mind, followed her. Mara understood now. The stories her mother told, dismissed as folklore, were true. The creek held a darkness that ran deeper than she could have imagined. The past, it seemed, had a way of pulling you back in. Mara left Darlene's creek behind, but the experience stayed with her. The house, the creek, and the creature had become a chilling reminder of the secrets that lurk beneath the surface, of the darkness that can lie dormant, waiting to be awakened. The waters of Darlene's creek, she knew, would never be still.